So first of all, I'd like to thank the Mumbai Hematology Group, especially Dr. M.B. Agarwal sir, for giving me this grand opportunity. So for the symposium on venetoclax, I will be first talking about the drug itself. Not able to move slide. So to begin with, first we need to understand what is the BCL2 family of proteins. So BCL2 stands for the B cell lymphoma 2 gene, where this particular family of genes, it encodes for certain pro-apoptotic and anti-apoptotic genes, and their role is mainly for regulation of the cellular survival and inhibition of pro-apoptotic proteins. And they are mainly implicated in causing diseases such as the hematological cancers like CLL, AML, and multiple myeloma, as well as solid tumors like breast, prostatic, and lung cancer. They are also implicated in causing autoimmune disorders like type 1 diabetes mellitus, as well as schizophrenia. So BCL2, the tail actually spans over a period of 30 years, as this has been shown beautifully by this article by Dr. Francesca Pentimeli. And first, in 1984, this particular chromosome breakpoint within the translocation 1418 was discovered in follicular lymphoma. And then it was later found that it was actually the BCL2 which was involved in the human follicular lymphoma. Then in 1991, it was shown that BCL2 also contributes to autoimmune disease. Then in 97, the role of BCL2 in prevention of apoptosis was also discovered. Finally, in 2008, navitoclax was discovered as a potent oral bioavailable BCL2 inhibitor. And then in 2013, venetoclax, which is a selective BCL2 inhibitor, was discovered. And finally, in 2016, this particular drug was finally approved by the FDA for the treatment of CLL with 17p deletion, and also subsequently for AML in 2018. So this is the Walter Eliza Hall Institute of Medical Research, which is in Melbourne, Australia. And it was here where this group of gentlemen, headed by Dr. Andrew Roberts, actually discovered the drug. And it was indeed a triumph for science and translation. They won the Prime Minister's Innovation Award also for the same in 2018. So this is a slide showing the structure of the venetoclax, which is also known as ABT199. It is a compound which has a low aqueous solubility. So what is the mechanism of action of venetoclax? So as you can see here, in cancer cells, there is actually BCL2 overexpression, which allows the cancer cells to avoid apoptosis by sequestering the pro-apoptotic proteins, such as BIM and BAX. However, when the patient is administered venetoclax, this drug actually binds to the BHC domain of the BCL2, and it causes the freeing of the pro-apoptotic proteins, which then initiate the apoptosis by activation of cytochrome C caspases, and this ultimately leads to the cancer cell death. So this is just a slide to show the various strengths of the venetoclax available. It is available in the form of 10 milligram tablets. Here you can see they are round tablets and they have V written on one side of the tablet. Other strengths are 50 mg and 100 milligram. The 50 mg and 100 milligram tablets are oblong in shape. Here you can see that these are the blister packs for the Venclexta or the original venetoclax, which are labeled according to the weeks of the ramp-up schedule, which I will be discussing subsequently. So they are labeled as week 1, week 2, week 3, and week 4, and so on. They basically comprise of colloidal silicon dioxide, which are anti-caking and stabilizing agents, as well as certain coloring agents like iron oxide yellow, iron oxide red, and so on. So these are just a slide to show the various brands which are available in India. The original one is Venclexta and Venclexto, which are both produced by the company AbbVie, which is the original brand. And this is the Lucivenet brand, which is available in India. This is the X100 brand, which is a Bangladeshi version. As far as the pharmacokinetics go, absorption of the drug is mainly in the intestine, and it needs to be taken with a high fat meal. As I had discussed earlier, the drug has a low aqueous solubility, hence it is well absorbed with a fatty meal. It is highly plasma protein bound, and the T half is 26 hours. The metabolism is predominantly hepatic, and the main metabolite is M27. The excretion of the drug is mainly through the fecal route. So coming on to the medical uses, the label indications for the use of venetoclax is CLL, specifically in the deletion 17p group. In acute myeloid leukemia, it is used in combination with HMAs or the hypomethylating agents, as well as low-dose cytosol. Specifically in patients who are above 75 years of age, or those patients who are not suitable for intensive chemotherapy or have comorbidities. Off-label use has been seen in relapsed refractory DLBCL as well as mantle cell lymphoma. In multiple myeloma, specifically in translocation 11-14 patients, as well as also in primary AL amyloidosis where this particular translocation is present. In pediatric patients, the use has been seen in certain ongoing trials in AML, NHL, and neuroblastoma. And many researchers have also used this drug as a post-transplant maintenance therapy. So what are the baseline investigations that one needs to see? It is important to elicit the drug intake history to see for any possible drug interactions with the drug, renal disease, history of gout, and vaccination. We need to do a baseline CBC with differential count, serum electrolytes, RFT and LFT, UPT in case of females before starting therapy, and it is also essential to monitor tumor lysis parameters, which I will be discussing. So coming on to the dosage ramp-up schedule in CLL. So initially when the trials began, this was the design of the ramp-up schedule over a period of 3 weeks. So the patient was started on lower doses such as 20 milligram or 50 milligram, and the step-up doses were increased to a maximum dose of almost 1200. However, this was not a very popular method because it led to very high incidences of tumor lysis syndrome. Hence, the expanded safety cohort study was done where the ramp-up schedule looked something like this. So in week 1, you started with 20 milligram and then gradually increased to 50 milligram, 100 milligram, and so on till week 5 where the dose was increased to 400 milligram. In AML, a similar dose ramp-up schedule is used. However, this is done daily, starting from a dose of 100 milligram on day 1 and increasing from 200 milligram to finally 400 milligram or 600 milligram, depending on whether you are using it in combination with the hypomethylating agents or if you are using in combination with low-dose cytosol. In myeloma, as you can see here, this is a study done by Dr. Shaji Kumar and his team. Here, the efficacy of venetoclax as a targeted therapy for relapsed refractory multiple myeloma, specifically for the translocation 11-14, was done. And here they saw that in the safety expansion cohort, the ramp-up was done up till a dose of 1200 milligram. And this was done over a period of 2 to 3 weeks. But what are the instructions that you need to give to the patient before you administer the drug? So it is important to take the medication whole with meal and water and at approximately same time each day. You should not be chewing or crushing the drug. You need to increase the water intake to almost 6 to 8 glasses of water per day, starting 2 days before, on the day of the first dose, and each time the dose is increased. The drug needs to be stored at 30 degrees Celsius, and any fever or infection needs to be promptly reported to the treating physician. The patients should avoid live vaccines along with venetoclax. What if the dose is missed? So if it is missed within 8 hours of the daily schedule, then you need to take the dose as soon as possible and resume the normal daily dosing. However, if the missed dose is more than 8 hours from the daily schedule, then you take the dose the next day and avoid the same day's dose. And if the patient wants, additional dose needs to be taken for that particular day. Drug interactions are also very important, specifically the CYP3A inhibitors like posaconazole, protease inhibitors, calcium channel blockers, ciprofloxacin. and dose needs to be adjusted as shown here in the table. And it is advised that if you need to give these drugs along with the venetoclax, then a gap of at least 6 hours should be maintained. Side effects are also important. Face hematopoietic side effects, including neutropenia, thrombocytopenia, and anemia. GI disturbances are seen, such as diarrhea, nausea, and vomiting. A lot of patients also experience constitutional symptoms like fatigue, constipation, peripheral edema. Pulmonary side effects, including pneumonia, cough, and URTI, are also seen. And some patients also suffer from back pain, headache, hypokalemia. But most important is the side effect of tumor lysis syndrome. And as per the NCCN guidelines, specifically in CLL and SLL patients, the tumor lysis syndrome is divided into 3 risk categories: low, medium, and high, according to what is the size of the lymph nodes or the absolute lymphocyte count. And accordingly, the measures are advised, including oral hydration, use of febuxostat, IV hydration, or raspberries. For patients who have a creatinine clearance of less than 80 ml per minute, ideally you should be hospitalizing the patients. It is important to monitor the blood chemistry, specifically at time points such as prior to giving the dose, then at 6 to 8 hours, post the first dose, then at 24 hours, and so on. Toxicity needs to be managed very judiciously, specifically for tumor lysis syndrome. For any occurrence of this event, you need to hold the next day's dose, and if the blood chemistry resolves within 24 to 48 hours, then you can resume at the same dose. However, if the changes require more than 48 hours to resolve, then you need to resume at a reduced dose. For grade 3 and 4 non-hematologic toxicities, for the first occurrence, you need to interrupt the dose, and once the toxicity has resolved to grade 1 or baseline, the therapy can be resumed at the same dose. For second and subsequent occurrences, then you need to follow the dose reduction guidelines. For hematologic toxicity, for the first occurrence, you need to interrupt the dose, and GCSF and empirical antibiotics may be advised accordingly. If the toxicity resolves to grade 1 or baseline level, then the therapy needs to be resumed at the same dose. However, for second and subsequent occurrences, you need to interrupt the dose and follow the dose reduction guidelines. And if the patient requires dose reductions to less than 100 milligram for more than 2 weeks, then consider discontinuing the drug. So this is the table where you can see the dose adjustments according to the dose at which the therapy has been interrupted. The restart doses are advised. In patients of AML, majority suffer from hematologic toxicity, mainly the grade 3 and grade 4 hematologic toxicities, and the occurrence depends on whether you have achieved prior remission or not, and you need to give the patient empirical antibiotics, GCSF, and give supportive blood transfusion products. And actually, in this particular flow chart, you can see that if the patient has developed an ANC of less than 500 or a platelet count of less than 25,000 after the first cycle of venetoclax, then you need to see the day 28 bone marrow aspiration. So if the patient has a persistent disease on day 28 marrow, you need to start the next cycle without any delay or dose modification. And if the marrow is in remission, then you hold the venetoclax and delay the next cycle. And if the blood count recovery occurs within 1 week, then you can start the next cycle without any dose modifications. However, if the blood count recovery takes more than 1 week, then you need to reduce the duration of the venetoclax from a 28-day cycle to 21 days per cycle. For any subsequent cytopenias, recurrent cytopenias, again, the marrow picture is extremely important because you need to rule out an AML relapse, and if such event occurs, then you need to consider alternative treatment. And if the marrow is in remission, but if it is hypocellular, you may need to reduce the dose of your hypomethylating agents. Certain populations, such as patients with hepatic impairment, venetoclax toxicity can be seen, especially in patients with the Child-Pugh C classification. In impairment, no clinically significant impact of the drug is seen. In patients, according to age, gender, ethnicity, and weight, there is no effect on the dose. And in patients who are pregnant and are breastfeeding, the dose of venetoclax is contraindicated. Just a slide to show what are the pricing schemes for the various varieties which are available in India. As you can see here, the original Venclexta brand is the most expensive, standing at rupees 5.5 lakhs for a bottle of 120 tablets. The Venclexto is slightly cheaper at rupees 50,000 for 112 tablets, and the cheapest version is that of the Bangladeshi version, which is the Venex 100, which is costing at approximately rupees 23,000 for 30 tablets. So for 120 tablets, the cost would be around 75,000. So to conclude, venetoclax is an orally highly selective BCL2 inhibitor. It is a promising new therapy for CLL, AML, and multiple myeloma, and its activity is very promising in combinations. It is also being studied for a variety of pediatric diseases like AML, NHL, and many trials are ongoing. PLS is an important side effect which needs to be managed very judiciously, and many generics are available at lower prices, and hence more and more patients can use this wonderful drug. So these are my references, and I thank you all for your kind attention.